FM.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast. And I'm here with Lizzie Williams. She's a British athlete, or at least she were a British athlete.
Yes, yeah. So I've taken a pause on that for now. Yeah, COVID kind of threw a pretty big spanner into the works. And I just had to get a real job.
Yeah. And your disability is brittle bones, isn't it? That's your main.
Yeah, that's it. So it's called osteogenesis imperfecta, but it's more commonly known as brittle bones disease because that's kind of the main characteristic of it. But it's a collagen, it's either a collagen deficiency or a complete lack of a type of collagen, which weakens all your connective tissues. But it can present very differently. It's got a very big scale of types and severity. So I am on the milder end of that spectrum, but I've had, yeah, probably near enough 100 broken bones in my lifetime and lots of metal work keeping me together.
Yeah, and it's a genetic condition, isn't it? Your mum.
My type is genetic, but you can get a spontaneous mutation type. Yeah, so my mum has it and she got it from her father. So there's a family history there.
Yeah, I thought so. So was it? Were you diagnosed with that early on as a kid, or
Yeah, I think it was from birth. I'm
genetic?
tempted
Yes, of
to
course, from birth.
say, I think my mum may have even been aware beforehand that the
Yeah,
likelihood was quite strong. But she'd already had two children, my two older brothers, and they don't have the condition. So perhaps she, thought maybe this time around it would be different.
yeah. And then obviously you and Anna are both twins, so it's like separated between the path. So it's not like one of you have got all of it. It's like you're sharing.
Yeah, but even so, my twin sister Anna, um,
Yeah,
it's quite interesting because we actually, even between the two of us as twins, we still present very differently. So I've had a lot more fractures than Anna, but she's had a lot more dislocations.
yeah.
So that's very, yeah, it's fascinating.
And it's quite because obviously the people that watch this may not know who you are to begin with, but because Anna walks and you do kind of walk and a wheelchair. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I try to much as like I can when I can. So I'll try and walk around at home. Although, for example, so I was at work yesterday, I had this big event, and I was just standing in the office, just on my feet, and my knee just went, and I was on the floor. So that'll be me out, being on in my chair a lot more for the next few weeks, which is frustrating, but these things kind of happen. But yeah, I think I'm a little bit afraid, I suppose, to lose that ability. So as much as I can stand when I can, as much as I can walk when I can, I do. But I know I am more comfortable in my chair, especially when I'm out and about and around people.
yeah. And so the growing up with schools, um primary school, secondary school, obviously Amory, um, were you mainstream for primary?
Yes, I went to West Park School in Loring, and it's a mainstream school, but they have, like Amring, a special unit sort of attached to it. So yeah, regular school days, I would arrive there, in my taxi, and then I'd go off to do my daily classes. But during like break and lunchtime, I wasn't around most of the other kids. I wasn't allowed to be outside with other kids because there was a risk that perhaps they might run into me, and that was quite difficult. But that definitely did change when I went to high school. I had a lot more sort of freedom to move around the site.
And so primary school was that because you were walking back then, or
No, so I actually couldn't hold my own body weight until I was 12, 13. So as a child, naturally you want to try and stand up and walk. And when I did try to do that, I remember trying to do that at primary school, in this smaller like play area, near the sort of the special unit that we were part of. And I remember standing up and walking and trying to get to this wheelbarrow, and all of a sudden I was on the floor, and I broke my leg. So that was quite frustrating. So yeah, it took me about 12 years until I was able to actually stand.
Yeah. Did you have more time in hospital than you did at school or with?
Yeah, I don't know what the ratio was exactly, but I spent a lot of my primary school years in hospital, mostly because my parents, so my dad was a detective inspector, so he was working a lot, and he would often work, around the country, I suppose, between London and Brighton and across the south. And my mum, who was also disabled, she was looking after 4 children, myself included, and she just wasn't able to give me that care at home. So whenever I fractured, I would have to spend 6 weeks in hospital, which is a long time. So for every time I fractured, that was it. I was just off the hospital for 6 weeks, and I would heal there until I was in a better position to go home and for my mum to continue that care.
Yeah. Oh, bless her. So when did your wheelchair racing come along then? How did that come about then?
That was a really random encounter, actually. I was volunteering at a sport event, which just came up in my Facebook memories a couple of days ago. And it was an event that you were at, and you look so small. It was like so many years ago,
Oh,
10 years ago.
was this when you met Steve Brown?
Yeah, this is where I met Steve
Yes.
Brown, and I
Yes.
got chatting to a young kid at the time, Nathan, who was a wheelchair racer,
Yeah,
and he
Freeman.
was all about it, and he invited me down to the local track where they had yeah, wheelchair racing. And at that point, I was kind of in between sports and relatively fresh out of having surgery on my back. And I was just eager to get back into sport somehow. So it was just, yeah, a random encounter, a random conversation, and I thought, well, I've got this opportunity here to try out another sport. So I just went down to the track, I think a week later, and I guess you could say the rest was history.
So what other sports were you doing at the time then? Prior to that?
Just loads, swimming, tennis, table tennis, archery, even some boccia.
Were
Just
you?
yeah, I never shied away from boccia. Well, probably more of training. I did my officials
Yeah.
training around that time. But yeah, I don't think there's a summer sport I've not done.
Yeah, because
Winter,
I was trying to think back, obviously Steve and that where I aim win. I was thinking it's for me, don't remember that. Boccia, definitely don't remember that. But I do
yeah,
remember doing tennis quite a lot. So
I did quite a lot of bocce when I was in primary school. That was my
oh
my
must
first medal, actually. I won. I'll have to show it to you. I've got it right here. This is my first ever medal, and it's a gold medal. And that's the BAA Gatwick Sussex Youth Games, for that was for boccia. And that was yeah, 2003. So I was 8 years old, maybe 7. Right.
blimey.
Yeah.
That's going back a few years, that is.
Yeah, just a few. What, 20, 21 years ago.
Yeah. Surprising that. So I mean, with obviously you being more delicate in your early years, and then of course aiming, you had probably more freedom than ever before. You know,
Yeah.
your support group of Imogen Blasser and Emma and all the other um because you had quite a rapport with the deaf people at Aimel as well, didn't you? You kind of had a little support group.
Yeah, so Emma just lived literally around the corner from me. Um, it's quite common that a lot of people who go to a mainstream, well, not to go to a mainstream school, but are part of a special needs unit, whether that is the entire school or it's just in addition to the mainstream school, you end up traveling quite far to get to that school. So Amring School wasn't my closest. It wasn't in my catchment. I was like 8 miles away. And it just so happened to be that Emma was just around the corner. But we both ended up at Amring because of the support he could give us. And yeah, we became really good friends because Emma was the closest the closest person we could hang out with after school.
Yeah.
And that was lovely. I remember, afternoons going to the park and getting snacks from the petrol station.
But I do remember you signing an awful lot of the time, and you weren't even deaf. So, it was quite a nice challenge to have someone that wasn't deaf to be able to sign as well. So that was quite
Yeah,
nice.
I think we learned to pick it up quite well. I'd say relatively quickly. But it's also something that's, I suppose, always interested Anna and I because our mum is deaf.
Yeah,
Um, and she never had the opportunity to learn to sign, which has kind of meant that she's not only struggled to communicate with hearing people, but she's struggled to communicate with deaf people. So we were quite keen to sort of show her little bits that we could. Um,
yeah. Yes.
yeah.
And so and then growing up, um, you obviously came out with, is it queer, the white terminology? Is that right?
Yeah, that's how I think I would define myself.
Yeah. Well, before I get into that though, I would like to ask you why you're a sneaker freak.
Why I'm a sneaker freak? I just love shoes. Too many shoes. My partner Rosa, we have this shoe bench, and I think she's only got room for like a couple of pairs. And for someone whose feet don't touch the ground much, I do find it quite funny that I'm the one who has all the shoes in the house.
So when did that start? Probably sports. You're probably collecting shoes all the time.
Well, not massively, because even then, like sports shoes, I don't need sports shoes because it's not my feet that are doing the action. I just love shoes. I think it's they're quite a fun element of fashion that you can quite personalize and customize. I've got a pair of rainbow shoes. I've got a pair of Vans, which these were custom. It was a Vans and National Geographic collaboration, and they've got penguins on. And these are like the best shoes ever. And now I keep telling myself I'm saving them for like red carpet.
Oh, oh dear. So, but tell me a bit more about your. Obviously, you were doing water racing. You got verified on social media. That lovely tick before you could buy it, that sort of thing. Um, and you did quite well, didn't you? You got to a standard, but you didn't really then progress further into sort of,
Yeah, I
yeah,
got so literally right before COVID. So COVID was 2019. In January, I spent 2 weeks in Spain on a warm weather training camp, preparing for. There was a half marathon at the end of it, which just happened to coincide, and I was pretty eager to test out the road distances, and a half marathon is a great place to start. And at the end of the camp, I did the half marathon, and I completed it in 61 minutes, which was just incredible. It was so much fun. It was such a rush. It was so much pain, but it was just the best feeling. And then a couple months later, I was invited to join the elite line for what was it called? Vitality Big Half, London Big Half Marathon,
yeah, right, yeah,
which I competed in again. That was more difficult terrain. There are a couple of cobbly bits around London which forced me to have to like stop and tighten up my wheels because they were loosening, which is not ideal. And then a week later, we were in lockdown. So it was like all of that work, all of the years beforehand of finding my feet, lots of lots of training, many competitions on the track. and then wanting to branch out into road distances, and then COVID hit. It was gutting.
And then we all know the reason for obviously lockdown was hard and everything else. And after COVID, what was the reason for not going back into it?
I just kind of got to a point mentally where it was going to take so much work again to get back to where I was. And there were things that I wanted to do personally, that I wanted for myself and my partner, Rosa, things that would have taken a lot longer to achieve if I'd have continued on the path I was. So I kind of had to make that decision then that, if we wanted to become homeowners, if we wanted to have cats, if we wanted to just, enjoy life a bit more. We'd never had a holiday together, for example, until 2 years ago. And that was because I was working, because I had that money that I'd never had before. I was always, desperately fundraising, trying to gather the pennies to compete, to go to train.
Isn't it?
And there's only so many times you can rattle the tin. And the people, the community, Worthing were very supportive of me. But I just thought enough's enough for right now. But the beauty of longer distance is that you can go back to it, later on in life. And I'm only 28. And David Weir is, how old is he? He's in his 40s.
Oh, he must be in his 40s. He looks anyway.
He's still PB. I think he's in the best shape of his life right now, actually. So that gives me great comfort that, if things change, if I can get back to it. But yeah, right now I'm enjoying the work I do. And I'm enjoying life.
Yeah. So what's the what you do then? You're
So I manage.
communications, disability expert.
Yeah, that's just a general overview. I manage communications for a local charity called Aldingbourne Trust, and they support people in Sussex and Hampshire with a learning disability or autism. So if you consider all the things that we might take for granted in life, such as education, training, employment, housing, just being able to go out and be social, those are the things that the staff that the trust can help people we support with, so that they can live as best a life that they possibly can, and as independently as they can and want to.
Yeah. And when did you start that?
About nearly 2.5 years ago. So it's flown by. It's gone quick.
It has. So what did you do before that? Because obviously you went to Aylmer. Did you sit form at Aylmer?
Yeah, I did sixth form at Amring. So I
Yeah.
left Amring in 2014, but it was in my second year that I had surgery in my spine, and that kind of wrote off my final year. Like
Again.
I managed to get grades, but I didn't get the grades I wanted. So I decided to kind of hit the reset button on my education. So I went to Worthing College and studied sport, and it was like a extended diploma, so it was the equivalent of 3 A levels, but that was all I studied, so that was really nice. And then after that, I did nearly a year of uni in West London, Brunel University, studying sport and exercise science, but I had a really miserable time. I hated it, which is it is a shame. But yeah,
Would you ever go back? You're like a mature student.
I'd love to go back. I think what I've realised now is that when I was making those decisions in sixth form, well, in high school and in sixth form, and then to go to university, I wasn't sure what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted to study, but because I thought I like sport and I enjoyed doing sport, I thought I could also study sport. But understanding, the mechanism of sport, that anatomy, biology, physiology, it's so different. And I found out that I just didn't have the interest for that.
Yeah.
But I'd love to go back, and I think if I did, I'd probably study either marketing or journalism. But my mum's just finished her degree, and she's 65.
Yeah, I was going
So
to 50 years later.
yeah, this is it. So
Yeah.
it's definitely, it's
Yeah.
possible.
She's always one to never stop learning. She just wants to go on to the next one and the next one and the next one.
Exactly, but those are also opportunities that she didn't have, 50 years ago as a disabled person. When she was young, she wanted to study medicine, but she was denied that because she failed the physical, and it was all down. It was actually because she was deaf that she couldn't study medicine.
Okay.
So for her, she then got married and she had children, but there's my mum loves learning. She's always been a learner. And when I went back to college the second time around, that was when she went back to college. And then afterwards, yeah, did her degree part-time over the course of 6 years. And yeah, I'm just massively, massively proud of her to go back and to do that, to achieve that. She got a first as well, which is incredible.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But there is a few quotes from you that has managed to, um, sort of stay with the time, and I think this is quite relevant to because obviously 10 years ago it wasn't even a thing. But now it seems to be more relevant now. But you've put sport has always meant freedom to me. But as many LGBT people can't be their authentic self in sport, my hope is to make sport a more inclusive and welcoming place for everyone. Sport is for everyone and it naturally doesn't discriminate because it's about the passion we have and the desire to do our best. The sport world needs to recognise that LGBT inclusion improves everyone's experiences. Everyone deserves the opportunity to access sport without anxiety or hesitation and to be able to progress within a sport knowing they are supported by their team and governing bodies. Um,
Absolutely.
oh, yeah, brilliant. It's very true. Well, when did you make that vote? Recently or
No, I think you've got that from, is it the Stonewall
yes,
website?
it is.
I
Yeah,
think that was when I was made a Stonewall sport champion, um, which is, yeah, a great honor.
yeah. And of course, you see more of these people coming out with their sport, number like football. You don't see anyone coming out at all because it's not, that it's not part of a men's culture, but now it is. And in the women's game, you've got loads more in the women's game than you have in the men's game, and then you've got other sports as well. I mean, it's growing all the time. And I think you could be a part of that community as well, to sort of express yourself how you want to. And with the rainbow shoes and all that.
LGBTQ plus people have always existed.
Yeah,
It's just finding and creating those spaces where they can feel comfortable and confident to go on and develop well in any way they want, whether they want to, just enjoy it at a grassroots level or have those opportunities to compete at, international elite world stage. And I think, yeah, this year, 2024 Paralympics and Olympic Games in Paris, you're going to see the most out athletes, which is just an incredible accomplishment, even compared to just 4 years ago, and then 4 years before that. Um, I think it's wonderful to see because those people have always been there, but now they're feeling more comfortable and confident to bring their authentic selves,
yeah,
something that they're good at and they're proud of, and they're able to display it now and
yeah. Yeah,
in the most.
because looking back, I think, oh, I think it was Tom Daly when he was like 13, 14 did that YouTube video. That kind of spurred the moment for everyone to be more accepting of uh people in sport to be who they want to be. Because I think before that, the culture of accepting gays in sports or any kind of sexuality in sport wasn't considered. And I think Tom Daley was the main one to sort of grow that.
He was iconic. You know, he was a really young athlete and a brilliant athlete. Uh, and being able to follow on his journey and then, you know, for him to share with the world his identity and
Yeah,
his LGBTQ plus yeah identity was incredible. But yeah, people loved him and they loved seeing him perform well. And now they get to love him and love seeing him do well um, as his most authentic self, which
yeah,
is brilliant. And it's nice. It's nice to know that, yeah, being LGBTQ plus doesn't mean that people shouldn't fear LGBTQ plus people,
yeah,
is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, yeah. No, I get it completely.
We're
Um,
just
so
we're just people. We
yeah,
just want to love what we do and enjoy life for as long as we're here.
yeah, and a love for crocheting as well. Well, I see
Yeah.
that. I see that more than his diving. So
He is very talented.
it's
Very
very
talented indeed.
fascinating. And um, and then so we talked about your. So why does this disability expert come? I mean, we laughed at this bit just a few minutes ago, but disability. I'm sure there is some sort of degree saying you could be an expert in whatever, but I'm assuming disability expert doesn't mean you know everything with every
No,
disability.
it's
So is this particular for yours or
no, I would sort of say disability expert by experience. And that is just that I have that lived experience. Um,
fair enough?
and in the context, so yeah, I think I have that on my LinkedIn and I don't know if I have it on my Instagram as well. Um, but yeah, for that those sort of, you know, networking purposes and work that I have done, consulting on, you know, disability awareness and accessibility issues, that's kind of where that has come from.
Oh, okay. I just thought about, oh, that's an interesting one. I thought,
Yeah, so I'm, you know, I'm not an expert
no,
on all disabilities. I can
no,
tell you about my own disability and
yeah,
the experiences and encounters and things that have happened in my life, but I can't speak for everyone and I don't. But I can also sort of, you know, raise the question to people or businesses who want to learn more around disability awareness or accessibility and sort of say, well, you know, I'm not blind, I'm not deaf, but have you considered the needs of those who are deaf and blind,
yeah,
so on. So,
fair enough.
you know, kind of questions that I can ask, but I can't speak on behalf of those people.
But before we get to the final couple of questions, what would you say has been the most frustrating thing? Because I saw Tyler Paul, obviously,
Mm.
amazing tennis player, done table tennis. He was on the news, local news recently on ITV,
Oh,
about cars being parked on the pavement and him
yeah.
passing from that. What would you say was been the most frustrating thing in your experience that the public needs to probably need to be more aware of?
That's a tough question. I
Because
don't think
there's
there's
loads of them. There's
one.
loads.
Yeah, there's just loads. To be honest, how much time do you have? I don't know if there's one that sticks out more than others, but perhaps things that I've encountered recently is just people who come up to me or engage in conversation with me, but make it around they guide the conversation around my disability or kind of make, you know, like a joke as if to like kind of break the ice, as if, you know, I'm the elephant in the room. And I find that frustrating, especially like as a working professional now. I enter spaces and, you know, networking events or
Yeah,
meetings, and sometimes when you're meeting someone new and they see you in a wheelchair, they panic and they don't really know what it is I do or what I'm capable of. So that I find that quite frustrating, that sometimes I feel like I'm constantly having to kind of prove myself.
Yeah.
And this is my space, this is my work.
It's just
And
like printed on a t-shirt and just, this is who I am. This is what.
I need many t-shirts, I think. Yeah, no, it's frustrating, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We just get on with it, don't we, Peter?
I mean, it's a bit frustrating when you have to repeat yourself. So you should just be focusing on the work you do and the difference you make, not necessarily about anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be nice just to, be like, hi, I'm Lizzie, and
yeah,
hi, you're Peter. Tell me about yourself.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, conversations take a different turn sometimes.
Well, to be fair, quite recently I've used the catchphrase of walking's overrated. So that's what I normally say to people now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hear you.
Yeah, while people are still doing it, I've no idea. But yeah,
Well, when you can roll.
yeah, definitely roll along. But the last two questions is what I normally ask everyone else. So, what advice or tips would you give to other young people with the same brittle bone condition or around that sort of spectrum umbrella type of disability? What advice or tips would you give younger people to progress as a person?
Advice I'd give to a young person with brittle bones is perhaps it can be really hard to not be afraid of trying things and trying, like, learning to gauge your limits. But I think I would just say, just go for it. Like, if there's something out there that you want to do, just go for it. Try and just give it a go. See how it works out. Maybe you've got to take some pointers from it and learn from it, but try not to be afraid of the things that really set your heart on fire, that you have that curiosity for.
And so if people who end up in hospital as many times as you have, Lizzie, over the years, um, what do you do to sort of keep yourself sane? Colouring books or
Oh, it's changed so much. I mean, when you're a child, a young person in hospital, you've got the benefits of, like, play specialists, playrooms, pool tables, puzzles. But now, as an adult, you have none of that, and it's the most boring experience ever. I spent a week in hospital last year after I dislocated my knee, and I was driving myself insane. And I bought in my Nintendo Switch, which helped to a certain degree, but there was no Wi-Fi. So once I'd outplayed my games, it was pretty boring. I think maybe you can get family and friends on a solid rotation to come in and spend time with you, bring in games, board games, puzzles, and I guess Sudoku books. I love Sudoku,
yeah.
words, all that
I
type of.
thought I thought you were going to say your phone.
Oh, well, yeah, phone as well.
That seems to be the most important thing in people's lives
Probably the
nowadays.
first thing I'd say, isn't it? Yeah. There's only so long I can spend staring at my phone screen.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I thought it feels like a good place to stop actually, right there actually, with all of that. Is there anything else wrong with that idea at all?
Oh, that's great. It's been really nice chatting with you again, Peter, and lovely
Yeah,
to see you.
thank you. It's good to see you. What does that say? I can't even read my own writing now. This is awkward. I don't know if that says international. Yeah, we've discussed that already. So that's good. But no, I mean, it's lovely to see you recently at the party anyway and sort of get back in touch. So it's lovely. So thank you very much for agreeing to come on, Lizzie.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me,
Yeah.
and all the best with your podcast.
Yes. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Voice. Let's go. Voice FM.